Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
It's the Tornado Tony Panico. And Psychic Contact, full of predictions, as always, as ever.
And we got quite the show. We got a lot of stuff to recap from last week. A lot of MMA events going on. We also have a big bunch of fights coming up this week. UFC 164. A couple boxing matches worth talking about. Bellator's got another event. 234. And we also had the boxing match between the YouTubers last week. We got to discuss, unfortunately, of all things.
I did not really get to see any fights over the weekend, and that was one I definitely had no interest in watching.
Well, so many people did.
I second that.
So many people did have an interest that the two fighters made a $900,000 purse for their fight.
Unbelievable.
$900,000.
You know what, Rich? You know what really bothered me? Really bothered me was a couple weeks ago during the DAZN coverage of the Canelo Kovalev fight when they had that long intermission, waiting for the UFC card to end, and they were talking to KSI or whatever his name is.
Right.
And he was just so vulgar and just so arrogant and just so profane. I'm watching him, I'm like, I couldn't imagine having, a kid, a child of mine watch him and look up to him, and I'm like, so it's like, hey, and I know there's different, methods of entertainment, and I know a lot of, your comedians and your singers and your rappers, they use a lot of vulgarity, and listen, trust me, I listened to them growing up, but at the same time, I knew that was, like a gimmick, like an act, even like your Eddie Murphy would get up there, and he would say a lot of vulgarities, but I knew that was his, show, and I know was set for a mature audience. This guy that's showing up at a sporting event, to do an interview to hype up a fight, and was just so disgustingly profane. I mean, I was even offended.
Yeah, and they've been making some pretty bold claims. I mean, Logan Paul has said he wanted to fight everybody in the heavyweight division, and, just, this is their first professional boxing match. And it's not even a full fight. So, but they also piss off a lot of boxers because these guys have been taken so seriously. In the lead up to this, they had the whole event built around them, and they've gotten through the promoter way better deals than normal boxers would get that are facing, fighting for their whole careers in the ring. And these guys come off YouTube and just all hype, and they're taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
So, world champion fighters have come out and complained about it. So, one of them here is, we got an article about Sergey Lipinets.
Well, I didn't get to read all of it. Who was that?
Sergey Lipinets, and also Abner Mares kind of freaked out about this.
I know I didn't get to read it. I didn't get to read all of his posts, but I know Iceman Scully had a few things to say about this, and I know he wasn't too enamored with it. And you know what I really like about John, and I know we've interviewed him. I mean, probably at least 4 times that I've been on the show, and I know you've interviewed him, a couple times before you even had me on there. And what I like about John is he is a real old school guy. He discusses boxing history. He talks about, back in the day, he really rips all, just the multiple championships out there and the diamond belt and the youth belt and all that. I mean, he just really is a old school kind of guy, and I think that's what endears me to him, and I'm sure, I don't want to speak for any of you guys, but I'm sure along the same lines. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Lipinets says the worst part, I can get it here, the worst part try to get his exact quote, is that serious and reputable news outlets actually talk about that, even though it was something, talk about it as though it was something really meaningful for boxing. And he says, personally, I'm disgusted by that whole notion that just this year real fighters died in the square for far less money. Guitar players should be playing their guitar. YouTubers are welcome to play with their computers. Fighters are fighting. They are not playing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another concern, too, that you have to think about.
We want to talk about
the money part of it. For these guys, in their very first fight, that no other debuting boxers are getting, and people, that have fought and died in the ring won't end up getting.
Yeah.
For their families. So
what does that say about American culture? What does that say about the culture of this Nine Empire? That says volumes, really.
And if they wanted to do a celebrity boxing match, they have the celebrity boxing circuit for that. So there's no need to license and sanction them as real boxers and pretend that they are real boxers. That's the part of it that really gets to a lot of people. So the fact that they got paid so much on top of that, it's just a slap in the face to a lot of fighters. And, you got guys like Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney on the undercard. And the most anyone will make was probably Devin Haney. He might make $1 million, but he doesn't get a cut of the revenue from DAZN and all that other stuff like these two YouTubers got.
Right.
Off the hype. So, just crazy. And he's probably got to pay his people a lot of money, because he's got a whole team. These guys. One of them was trained by what's his name there? The guy who ate Klitschko's lunch that day. What was Shannon Briggs?
Shannon Briggs.
Yeah. So they did take it seriously in that regard, and they trained for it. But it was just like all talk, and I think each of them got knocked down once in the fight itself, and ended up being a decision for KSI. I think Logan Paul won the first one. That was why he was so confident going into the second. So now you're going to have a friggin' trilogy. It's going to get ugly. But anyway, that's that story. We'll get to the full recap schedule of the boxing events in a minute. But here's a wrestling story that I found funny. This just came out in the random news fact of the week for wrestling. But John Cena had a bad habit when he wrestled. Guess what his bad habit was? His fix. Can you have any guess, Tony? He had a fix.
You know what? I don't. When you say it, I'm probably going to be like, I've seen him do it 1,000 times, too. But, yeah, go ahead.
Well, he juiced himself up for matches, and it wasn't the traditional juice that you would think of. He used to be a Tic Tac fiend, downing so many boxes of the breath mints before his wrestling matches that he estimates he sometimes took in as much as 10,000 calories of straight sugar. So, and
My God.
I guess in those close exchanges he never had bad breath. He says you always want to try and smell your best, because nothing says smell your best like two sweaty dudes rolling around in a wrestling ring. but yeah, that's your random news fact of the week. John Cena. And speaking of wrestling, Tyson Fury just came off his WWE event there, and now he's talking a bunch of stuff about boxing Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is talking about boxing Stipe Miocic from the UFC.
Yeah, how about that?
And he's obviously the heavyweight title holder now. Cormier, I guess, is officially retired. You never say never with him. Anyway, but this is the talk of the town now, and you got Francis Ngannou talking about the same thing. This is the catch-22 of the UFC getting involved in boxing. You're going to have a lot of these fighters just totally look at the money part of boxing and say, if I can make more money in boxing, that's what I want to do. Israel Adesanya now is talking about getting into boxing. There was also talk about somebody boxing Alvarez. I think it was Adesanya. I don't know. But it's just, these people are nutty. Thinking they can cross over that quickly and just go right up against world beaters.
Yeah, and remember, Fury has talked about conquering all the combat sports.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Maybe he'll fight Stipe. Now, my money would be on... We've been through all this. I can't believe we're talking about it.
Well, he's got...
Yeah, my money's on Fury in a boxing match. My money's on Stipe in the cage. Okay?
He's got the balls to do it, though. Like... Floyd would promote something like that and then just laugh it off when people would, put their money on him coming and fighting in an MMA cage and, going through the motions but never really doing it. And on the other hand, Fury, he's crazy enough to do it. So it would be interesting. I don't think training with Conor McGregor is going to help him catch up. It has nothing to do with it as far as the years of experience of doing MMA, but I believe he'll do it, and it's easier for somebody in the heavyweight division to do it, I believe, because it's a thin division, especially in the UFC. But it's a very thin division because you've got so many of those players, those fighters that end up on a football field or in different sports just because they're looking for those big guys, and they get snatched up early age because the high school football team needs that big guy for the line, or needs that heavy running back or something. So yeah, it's going to be hard for Tyson to make that break in, but I could see him beating some of the contenders if he puts enough training in just on boxing alone. Heavyweight.
Yeah, I think just give him about 6 months of takedown defense. And I'm sure he could handle a lot of the top 20 guys, but at the highest levels, he'd have to learn more of the ground. He would have to. No one so far has come in to MMA with pure boxing and succeeded over the long term. It just hasn't happened. But I think he could get going and maybe learn on the fly. And I think he's, like you said, he's crazy enough to try it, and he's gutsy enough to pull off. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be cool to see if it happens, but we still haven't heard any updates on how that whole situation with Zuffa Boxing is going to iron out. Whether they're really going to have UFC fighters cross over and do boxing and MMA, it's a different animal than what Bellator usually does. They don't have a lot of people doing much of the crossovers, except maybe the female boxers more than anything have done it on a grand stage. Like Heather Hardy, I think, has gone back and done boxing and MMA at the same time. Anna Juliton, I think she's in Bellator now. She's done the same thing. But it's hard to do, to balance both sports. It's not like Deion Sanders there or Bo Jackson doing the other sports. These are combat sports, so it's very hard to do, and very few people do it well.
Yeah, and I of course, yeah, there is crossover. We're talking the highest levels.
Yeah.
And the highest levels of both sports takes so much.
And what happens when Dana White gets his basically all his cards in a row and is ready to go out and do this, and all these UFC fighters want to jump on board, and then every one of them gets knocked out or embarrassed? What happens when that comes around? If that problem surfaces, you're going to show that your sport is weaker than boxing, is basically what the image is going to come out as, and people are going to claim, whether it's true or not. They're going to be like, yeah, all these boxers beat your guys, so your guys suck. They're not as good athletes. That'll be the argument. So it could really come back to bite the UFC if they do it at the level where they're letting all their fighters cross over and they embarrass themselves. But some of them might surprise us, I believe. Like Adesanya. He could be very dynamic as a boxer, but it's going to be a problem for him because he basically is giving up so many of his weapons that make him so dynamic in the cage.
Yeah, because you remember he got his start in kickboxing. Yeah, and he had quite a record in kickboxing.
Right. But you see, the first part of kickboxing is kick, right?
Yep.
It's a heavy part of that sport is kicking. So, yeah, it's taken away one of his biggest weapons. Anyway, so yeah, this whole crossover thing is going to be in the news a lot in the coming months. And Dana White, whatever he does with this stuff of boxing, is obviously serious about doing it. But it's going to be a different type of fight for him, I think. When these guys start making that boxing money and they don't want to come back to the cage. So in some sense, one effort might destroy the original one. You know, and a lot of guys.
Let's see how they do. Yeah. Let's see how they do in boxing first. You know,
a lot of guys too are making that transition to bare knuckle. You know, and both boxers and MMA fighters, like Dat Nguyen. I should put the video on my Facebook page of his performance, and I kind of predicted it on my comments to him because he had Stitch in his corner, and I said, I think your opponent's going to need him a little bit more than you. And he ended up really cutting up his opponent pretty bad, so it's luck of the draw there, but you know, obviously very different dynamics going in there. You know, it's like the early days of the UFC. Styles make fights. So you've got these MMA fighters in there used to fighting with less padding on their gloves, but they're getting, in some cases, outclassed by guys like that who have the better boxing experience. But a lot of it times it comes down to whether your hand is strong in that sport. You literally got to start punching brick walls, stuffing up your skin and your knuckles and your bones and your hands. And you got to, like Bobby Gunn, when we had him on the show, said, you know, you got to throw a lot of body shots. He's a big pioneer of that sport's comeback, so it's a totally different game. But it's just interesting to see all these ex-fighters who have, you know, not many opportunities in MMA or boxing anymore going to bare knuckle. It's definitely some interesting names, and former guests of ours, Chris Lytle, guys like that. Anyway, we also had an MMA fighter make the news for another reason, and I kept reading this headline and I was dismissing it. Thought it was just some random MMA fighter. But no, it turns out to be Tara LaRosa, somebody I met in person out there in Worcester, Massachusetts at an event. A female fighter's been in the circuit for a long time.
Wonderful story this is.
Yeah.
Wonderful story.
Portland, Oregon, a beautiful place with, you know, a lot of peaceful people, I guess. But there was a protest there, and it was an anti-Trump protest, and one protester allegedly got violent. So MMA veteran Tara LaRosa did what she does. She took her down.
Remember this. This wasn't really a Trump rally. This was Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And the Antifa crowd hates the flag and veterans, and so that's what started all this mess. And I know citizens. Yeah, and what was funny is when the esteemed professor that started the problem, when she was mounted on, I can't breathe, let me out. Well, you know. Learn how to fight on the ground, okay? Learn how to, I mean, it was just, well, it's not, then she bit.
Yeah, bit her on the chest.
Actually, yeah. Now, so the Portland police are investigating.
She went to the Mike Tyson School of Street Fighting.
You can't beat them, bite them.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, Tara LaRosa obviously has gotten some backlash from a lot of people. You know, there's one thing that I get from people that either like or hate Trump. They all agree that, you know, it's definitely like almost like a violent undertone to a lot of people who don't like Trump. They will fight you because.
Well, so she's getting back. Hold on, stop. She is getting backlash from who?
Oh, just everybody. All the trolls out there on social media.
From the creeps that want to burn the flag and hate veterans and all that. So they're saying she should have just sit there and let this thing go crazy.
Yeah.
Backlash.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's the Twitterverse. That's the sewer of Twitter. Percentage point of a percentage point. That's all that is.
And you know what it is, Tom? You got people that they attack in gang mentality. When I was growing up, 80s into the 90s, early 90s, you were a teenager, before I started boxing and all that. That's when you were starting to get a lot of the pack mentality. There wasn't social media like there is today. You didn't really have, cell phones for text messaging and stuff like that. So it was, you couldn't get like a mob as fast as you could. But it was like, I had an issue with a group of guys. And the ringleader was, pretty mouthy and all that. And he was a couple years older than me. And I remember saying, like, you know what? Here's how we're going to settle it. We're going to have, an issue where me and you are going to step into it one-on-one, no weapons. You don't bring your boys into it, I don't bring my boys into it. We fight mano a mano, no weapons. He wouldn't show up because that wasn't his style. His style wasn't where he could, just square up to somebody and go, man on man, guts on guts. I could, and that's why I went into the ring later. And then it was the first year I was actually boxing. A bunch of these guys ended up, getting a lot of trouble because somebody had made up some allegation on something, and they all got together as a gang mentality and showed up where they thought these people that the accused perpetrators were, and they found some random kid there and got him on the church steps and clubbed him to death with a baseball bat. But it was, once again, it was 6-7 on one with bats. And that's the gang mentality that these people, these things, these useless cretins are doing today. It's like a gang mentality. It's like, any of them, you step up and say, you know what, me and you, off to the side, one-on-one, you put your shit down, you take your mask off, and we're going to square up.
Right.
That's
never going to happen.
Yep.
Nope. So, it's sad. It really is. But that's the society that, we've unfortunately let fester. Right. From net participation trophies and, kissing the kid's ass and no kid's allowed to get in trouble or spanked or any of that shit. Hey, I never really think got hit as a kid, But also, I knew at the same time, the look was enough.
Right.
You get very straight, or you're going to have a problem.
And the way it is now, you've seen that whining that woman that caused the fight was doing, like she had some kind of right to do anything, and no one had a right to defend themselves. She was entitled. Exactly. Unbelievable.
Yeah, ridiculous. That's what we come to. There's a lot of back and forth. You just look at the Congress. It's just so down the middle lines. It used to be the big stories were about the politicians that could deal with both sides. Now it's just one side does their own thing, the other side does theirs, and when they talk to each other, it's usually fighting about something. Nobody's crossing over and making deals anymore. It's just like, everybody's out for themselves.
The sad thing is, like, you see them anymore. They don't work with what can help the country. It's, how can we,
destroy the other party, basically. Right. Yeah.
Now, what can we do to help people? What can we do? Sucks, but
that's what we got now.
Let's talk about some positive.
Right.
Yeah.
We got some boxing stuff to talk about. Last week, obviously, in addition to the Logan Paul versus KSI fight, we had some decent matches. Bill Saunders got another win over Marcelo Esteban Caceres. Jamel Herring beating Lamont Roach. We also had Michael McKinson beating Luis Alberto Varone. Devin Haney, as I said, probably earning around $1 million, beating Alfredo Santiago on the same card as the YouTubers. Also, Chantel Cameron over Anahi Esther Sanchez. And then this weekend, we don't have a lot going on. Really. It's not too much for title fights happening. But I'm sure we'll find some worth mentioning. Let's see. Get to the first one here. I believe this is our mismatch of the week here from France on Saturday. Bilal Latreche, 25-5-1 against Vladislav Mishenko, who is 4-9. Yeah, rough uphill battle there for the underdog there. Alright, here's one from Germany, Gennady, not Golovkin. Gennady Martirosyan, 26-4.
What did I miss?
Gennady Martirosyan, he's 26-4, fighting Ibrahim Guemus, who is 17-0 for the International Boxing Federation Mediterranean Super Welterweight title. It's over there in Germany. And then you've got what about this for a first name? Jakob Saglam. He's 42-5 at heavyweight, fighting Hussein Muhammad. What a name that is, too. 13-0. Hussein Muhammad. Yikes. Then a welterweight match between Ilhami Ademir, 16-1, and Viktor Plotnikov, who is 33-6. Oh, crazy fights there. We got an opponent on here who got quite the record. Mason Gerke. He has got 15 wins, 107 losses, and 5 draws. Wow. Everything's happening in Germany this week. Here's another big fight card. Dominic Bosel. This is the ESPN Plus card this week. He is 29-1 at light heavyweight, fighting Sven Fornling, who is 15-1. It's for the interim WBA World Light Heavyweight title and the International Boxing Organization World Light Heavyweight title. And the co-main event is David Zagara, 34-3, fighting Stefan Hartel, who is 18-1 for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Super Middleweight title. At cruiserweight, Jürgen Oldedage, who is 11-0, fighting Joe Jones, who's 11-1. And then 3 titles on the line there. WBC Youth World Cruiserweight title, vacant IBF Youth Cruiserweight title, and the WBO Youth Cruiserweight title. So he's going to be the undisputed Youth Cruiserweight title holder, I guess. all the organizations are sanctioning that one. And that's about it for that card. For the good stuff. Here's our Jesus fight of the week. Jesus Emilio Bojorquez. He is 22-2, fighting Ivan Chavella. Oh, this is our mismatch of the week, too. 5-40 for Ivan Chavella. Jesus is not going to need a miracle in Baja California. And then we got the Angel fight of the week on the main event, believe it or not. Angel and Jesus, back-to-back fights. Luis Angel Viedes, he is 25-9 with 1 draw, fighting Jorge Alfredo Pitta, who is 4-23-1. So it's obviously a tune-up fight style for all these fighters here. There's not a single person in the right-hand column who has a winning record on this card. Oh, let's go down the list. We got 4-23, 5-40, 1-17, 3-17, 7-38, 2-13. And here's the other Jesus fight. Mark Barnes in his debut, or Mac Barnes at super featherweight, fighting Jesus Manuel Sandoval, who is looking for a miracle in the form of his first win, because he is 0-26 with 1 draw. Then we got 0-18, 0-4, 0-1, 2-20, and 0-3. And the only guys with better
some
records.
Of them could be entertaining.
For the TBAs.
Some of them could be entertaining in a slapstick comedy mode, or a Three Stooges mode. You put a couple guys in like that. I mean, I've seen some bar fights and nothing else entertaining. Not too much technique.
Yeah, that's wild.
But entertaining.
That is a wild card. Only in Mexico. Another one in Mexico, Guanajuato. I believe that's the town that's in that Shawshank Redemption. That's where Red goes to when he gets out of prison. He finds the banker down there. But anyway, there's a fight going on down there. Pablo Cesar Cano, super lightweight. He's in the main event, 32-7-1, fighting Roberto Ortiz, who's 35-4-2, for the WBC International Silver super lightweight title. And then co-main event, Ricardo Rafael Sandoval. He's 16-1, fighting Gilbert Gonzalez, who's 15-2-1. And then we got fights from Norway. Katarina Thander, she's 12-0, fighting Danila Ramos, who is 8-1 for the WBC World Female Super Featherweight title. That's it for that card. Good stuff. And then we got London fights here. Alex Dilmagani, 19-1, fighting Francisco Fonseca, who is 25-2-1 for the vacant IBO World Super Featherweight title. And we got another Fonseca, Freddie Fonseca, 27-4 with one draw, fighting John Joe Nevin, who's 13-0 for the vacant WBA International Super Featherweight title. And that's about it for the good fights there. And here's somebody's always got to go, also on ESPN from Scotland. Lee McGregor, 7-0, fighting Ukashir Farouk, who is 13-0 for the Commonwealth British Empire Bantamweight title and the BBBFC British Bantamweight title. Co-main event, also somebody's always got to go. Kieran Smith, 15-0, fighting Vincenzo Bevilacqua, who is 16-0 for the WBC International Silver Super Welterweight title. Good stuff there. A lot of opponents on that card, too. And then finally, a big fight in the United States this weekend. Dwayne Beeman at super flyweight. He is 16-2-2, fighting Marvin Solano, who is 22-4 for the WBC Continental Americas super flyweight title. All right. And then how about Texas fights? Light heavyweight. Alfonso Lopez, 31-3, fighting Dennis Grayshev, who is 19-9-1 for the vacant NABF light heavyweight title there. Oh, there's quite the mismatch of the week here, too. Even though the guy's got a winning record, not much experience. Eugene Hill coming into the fight at 34-1, fighting Hugo Trujillo, who is 4-2-1. Tough one. Big experience gap there. And you gotta love a fight at the fairgrounds. How about this one? Casper, Wyoming at the fairgrounds. Billy Martin, 0-5 against Danny August. His pro debut. What's the main event?
Back from the dead after coaching the Yankees all them years?
So somebody's win-o has got to go.
Yeah.
Then again, it doesn't. It could be a draw. I take that back. I misspoke. I was wrong. Then it could be 0-5-1 and 0-0-1.
Right. Anyway, switching gears to MMA. We had the UFC fights we talked about last week in Russia. I obviously missed the time. I don't know, they were on a different time. And I was looking for them. But anyway, we had Zabit Magomed Sharipov. Spoiled a good upward movement of Calvin Kattar there. He lost by unanimous decision. Zabit improves to 19-1. Kattar falls to 20-5. And then in the co-main event, we had Greg Hardy Doing better than I thought he would, actually, against a seasoned veteran Alexander Volkov. He did last the entire fight, but lost by unanimous decision. I guess the Russian Commission did not allow inhalers.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Yeah.
Surprised me he lasted that long.
I just looked at the results today. I hadn't even had a chance to find highlights or anything of these fights. But it does not surprise me. I had a feeling that he was going to definitely have some difficulty with that opponent. But, hey, got to give him credit. He went all 5 minutes 3 times. That's a big test for him to make it through with a guy like that. Anyway, Danny Roberts, also on the card, got the knockout win with just 6 seconds left in the second round over Zalim Imadev. And Ed Herman getting back in the win column against Kadis Ibragimov. That was a unanimous decision win. Anthony Rocco Martin beating Ramazan Amaev by unanimous decision. And we got Shamil Gamzatov beating Klidson Abreu by split decision. Magomed Ankalaev beating Dalcha Longiambula by front kick and punch. Knockout 29 seconds into round 3. Rustam Kabilov beating Sergey Kandozko by unanimous decision. We got a submission win for David Zawada over Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov. That was a triangle choke. First round, 2 minutes and 50 seconds in. Karl Roberson also beating Roman Kopylov by rear naked choke submission. 4 minutes and 1 second into round 3. Roosevelt Roberts getting the win over Alexander Yakovlev by unanimous decision in the third fight of the night. And we had the female fight, Pani Kianzad beating Jessica Rose Clark, also by unanimous decision. First fight of the night, Davey Grant getting the win over Grigory Popov by split decision. So then we got another UFC fight night coming up this weekend. And it's in another foreign country. Brazil this time. We got Sao Paulo, Brazil hosting. So we're obviously going to have a little bit of a time difference. But anyway, Jan Blachowicz is in the main event. He is 24-8, fighting Ronaldo Souza, who is 26-7. And big-time submission Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Co-main event, Mauricio Hua. Blast from the past there. He's 26-11, fighting Paul Craig, who is 12-4. So, two pretty decent co-main events here. It's definitely going to be worth watching this one. Hua, obviously fighting in Brazil. Hasn't fought in, quite a while from what I remember. But he's back in action against Paul Craig. Jan Blachowicz, I don't really know a lot about him. But Souza, I think they used to call him the arm collector back in his Strike Force days, if I remember correctly. But he's been around a while. And then we got the Brazilian cowboy, of course, Charles Oliveira. He's also on the card. 27-8, fighting Jared Gordon, who's 15-3. Antonio Arroyo, also on the card, 9-2, fighting Andre Muniz, who's 18-4. Marcus Perez, 12-2, fighting Wellington Turman, who is 15-3. And former guest of ours, the James Krause, back in action. He's been doing more coaching than fighting lately, but he's back in the cage. 26-7 is his record, fighting Sergio Moraes, who is 14-5-1. And then we got Ricardo Ramos, 13-2, fighting Luis Eduardo Garagori, who is 13-0. Francisco Trinaldo, this is the journeyman fight here on the undercard. He is 23-7, fighting Bobby Green, who is 24-9-1. And we got all the Brazilians on this fight card. Warley Alves, 13-3, fighting Randy Brown, who's 11-3. Douglas Silva de Andrade is 25-3, fighting Renan Barao, who is 34-8. Haven't heard from him in a while. He's way down on the card. Third fight of the night. Ariane Lipsky, she is 11-5, fighting Priscilla Cachoeira, who is 8-3. And first fight of the night is another female fight. Duda Santana, who is 3-1, fighting Tracy Cortez, who is 6-1. So, now we got Bellator here. Bellator 233. Salter versus Van Steenis. That was in Oklahoma last week. John Salter getting the unanimous decision win over Costello Van Steenis there. We had in the co-main event, we had Andrew Capel beating Mo Lawal by knockout. First round knockout. 1 minute and 22 seconds in. So, obviously, Mo is on the downside. He's getting knocked out that quickly.
Yeah, he's done. He's done. He retired in the cage, and I think that's good for him.
So Arlene Blencow beat Leslie Smith as well on their card there. Unanimous decision. Terrell Fortune beating Azuna Anyanwu by TKO from punches. That was 1 minute and 56 seconds into the second round. We had Aaron McKenzie getting a rear naked choke submission over Sam Clements. That was 4 minutes and 31 seconds into the second round. Lucas Brennan over Jacob Landon by forearm choke. I haven't heard of that one. That was 3 minutes and 36 seconds into the fight. Logan Storley beat EJ Brooks by TKO after the first round. I guess there was an arm injury on EJ, so he had to retire. Christian Edwards over Caesar Bennett by head kick knockout, just 16 seconds into that one. Kyle Crutchmer also getting a win over Robert Gidron by unanimous decision. I'll go through all the rest of them. Okay, so Bellator 234 is actually in Israel. So I think they actually had results already for this, even though it's supposed to technically be tomorrow. I'm not sure. I saw the thread on that on SureDog, but I might be wrong. Anyway, Sergey Karatanov is in the main event. He is 29-6, fighting Linton Vassell, who is 18-8. Then we got Roger Huerta back in action. He is 24-11-1. And what a name for his opponent here. This is probably the first co-main event I've seen on SureDog with no picture for one of the guys. It's Sidney Outlaw. How'd you like a name like that? 13-3. Sidney Outlaw. Pretty thin undercard, except for basically the first, looks like the main event card. Aviv Ghazali, he is 3-0, fighting Zaka Fatulazad, who is 14-8. And we got Haim Ghazali, who is 11-6. I'm guessing he's related to Aviv. He's fighting Artur Pronin, who is 16-3. And then the only further fight worth mentioning, Austin Vanderford, 8-0, fighting Grachik Bozanian, who is 10-3. That's about it. For the MMA fights, I don't know if there's any PFL going on or anything like that. Let's see here. Find out in a second. PFL. Well, next PFL fight is December 31st. One championship. This is the other big one. They're going to start to come to the United States here. They got an event, actually, November 16th. That's Saturday, right? November 16th. Bo versus Balin. They got the female fight in the main event. Meng Bo, 13-5, fighting Laura Balin, who's 11-5. This is in Beijing. Also, this guy was an Indian wrestler, Ritu Phogat, and he's been making some headlines because he's making his MMA debut here in the co-main event. He's 0-0, of course, fighting Cindy Tiong, which is kind of an odd name for a guy, but I think he's a guy. 0-0 as well.
Well, he's got to be tough.
Yeah, that's why he's infighting, I guess, because his name was Cindy. Growing up. Tough one. Li Tao Miao Not making that up. That's his name. He's on the card.
Yeah, that would be good name for your next cat.
Yeah, a Siamese cat, right?
Yeah. I imagine when the vet calls you, you're in the waiting room at the vet's office.
He's fighting Jeremy Miano. Lee Tao Miao, yeah, he's fighting Jeremy Miano, 8-4.
I hate to have to fight a guy like that. My jaw broke. You don't want to get punched when you're laughing.
Imagine having to explain that, getting beat up in a fight with Lee Tao Miao. People be thinking you're talking about a cat. You got scratched by your cat? No, it was the guy I fought. His name was Lee Tao Miao. We had Kai Tang at 9-2 beating Edward Kelly. No, fighting now Edward Kelly. This is Saturday, 12-7. Yosep Saduliev, he's 18-5 with one draw, fighting Daichi Takanaka, good Japanese name, 12-1-1. And then first fight of the night, Getu Hexy, 3-3, 500 is the record. 4-2 is his opponent's record. Ramon Gonzalez. And that's it. Lee Tao Miao. That's too funny. We got some good names this week anyway. So I guess that'll be all we got. Let me see if we got anything in the alerts. No, nothing that I see. Whoop. So that'll do it for this week. Until next week. Thanks for stopping by, folks.
Well, before we go, I just want to talk about a little bit about the Rocky Run last week. I'm signing up for next year already.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'm glad you guys liked the photos, and it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. It was 22 degrees at the start of run time, but I still wore the boxing trunks and the Rocky robe. I did have a thermal top on under the t-shirt and the robe.
I noticed you had the socks pulled up as far as possible too.
I did.
That was a nice touch. Did they stay that way though?
I wanted to do that because I like the black and gold look, So
did they stay that way through the whole race though? That's what I want to know.
34 minutes, 41 seconds. I mean, I think it's all right. Not great, but not horrible. And met the new.
Yeah, like I said, Tony, if you hadn't been running regular, when I was doing them, up to about 10 years ago, if I could make a half hour, I was good.
Yeah. Well, what I did, Tom, getting prepping for it, usually when I do running, I do intervals. So, and I do everything in rounds. So I might do, say I'm going to do 10 rounds today, obviously 30 minutes, and I might do 5 rounds of running at, say, whatever various speed that I pick, and then 5 rounds of walking. So normally I'll start off with, say, 3 rounds of running at, somewhere between 5-point-something miles an hour and 6-point-something miles an hour. So anywhere between, a 9:40 and an 11:40-minute mile. And then I would drop it off for a round, back to running, and then alternate. So the last week, the last few days before I did the run, I said, you know what? I had been doing 5 rounds at 6.1. That's a little over a mile and a half in 15 minutes. Then I would back it off for a round, and then I would do maybe 2 rounds, back off, then 2 rounds, so on and so forth. I said, you know what? I want to do 3 minutes straight at 9-minute 40-second miles. So that's what I did. I did 30 minutes on the treadmill at 6.1, and when I was done, I was like, man, I really could feel it, but it also gave me the confidence knowing that, I can do 3 miles without stopping. And I had picked up purposely a faster pace. And then I'm like, yeah, I felt pretty good. And I actually made a joke last night on Facebook. I said, I'd like to go back 30 years ago and create an old school Nintendo game called Philly Run. And I'm like, it's doing a 5K in Philly with some obstacles that you have to do. I I said, the basis of this game is you have to get your 5K in a certain time, and you can alter your speed, but the faster you go, the more it wanes on your stamina. And then I said, then you have the obstacles you have to avoid, like silly potholes, dog shit, and people that are walking 3 and 4 abreast having conversations, and you can't get around them. I think that was the thing that pissed me off more than anything. I mean, I was actually going up on the grass trying to get around people, and they're just walking and talking. Hey, how you doing today? Boy, it's a nice day out, you know? But to give you a synopsis of my day, and with me, everything's always got to be, you tell it later, and it's like, can anything ever work out where it's not, a disaster? But my phone, I'm actually on a new phone right now. My phone had been going. Last year, even around this time, I could notice the screen was starting to get dim. It was over 2 years old. Now it's 3 years old, and I was like, man, the screen was getting dim. Well, Friday morning, the day before, I went out in the woods for a few hours. It was a chilly morning, and I'm like, my screen is almost black. I could barely see it. I was off that day, went to the store. Guys like, yeah, show me this new phone. It's a real nice phone. I'm like, do I really want to do this right now and be traveling tomorrow and have traffic, and not knowing this thing and this contraption and all that? I said, no, one more thing to worry about. I said, I'll do it Sunday. So I'm on my way down there on Saturday, and it's cold out. It's 20-some degrees. My screen is to the point where you can't see it anymore. I'm like, fuck. So we get down there, and I'm trying to text people. I can't see the screen. And then I bumped into a few of my friends. I said, you guys are going to have to take all the photos today. I don't want to take any photos. I'm walking to get in line, and I see this golden retriever. I'm like, shit, I got to get a photo of this dog. The dog that I was walking with laughed. I'm like, I don't got no one to take this photo for me. I'm like, hey, girl, a random girl, can you take a photo of me and this dog? She goes, I can't see your screen. I said, listen to me. Point the screen where you think that me and the dog are, and press it where you think the button is. And that's she did. And the photo came out great. But I'm like, everything with me, why can things never work out right? But like I said, we got down there. I was pleased with my time. It was a lot of fun. There were people dressed up in costumes. I mean, I got a lot of positive feedback because, like I said, I went old school black and gold, like Rocky 2 and Rocky 3. But the fedora is what people like love the hat. I'm like, that's right, baby. There was one guy, I don't know if he ran or not. I saw him when I was getting my bib and stuff. But he was in the fully meat packing attire with the white, like, lab-looking coat. And I wanted a photo with him so bad, but I was getting my paperwork, and then he was gone. I mean, we had one guy running, like, a Wildcat mascot outfit. We had everybody, most people were running in the red, white, and blue. But here's also what worked out great. The people that I was on the team with, as you'll see in some of the photos, they had, I believe, a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law that were doing the 13-mile half marathon. So the 5K was at 7 a.m. So Saturday morning, I got up at 3:30 in the morning at 20 degrees and drank my first cup of Death Wish coffee, the strongest shit you can buy. Slogged that down, and then I took a big 24-ounce mug of it, put it in my car, got my attire on, left my house at 4:15 in the morning because there was going to be no parking down there. Plus, I don't want to drive around the city that much anyway, but I don't want to go in a park. So the train station by me wasn't running trains until 6:30 in the morning. That's too late. The trains where I used to live, about 40 minutes away, they were starting trains as of 5-something in the morning. So that's what I did. Left my house at 4:15, got down to the train station, drank my 24 ounces of Death Wish after already drinking 8 ounces of Death Wish. Jumped on the train, saw some people with running a tire on us, and I'm following you people. And, that's what we did. We got down there. Now, I meet up with my team. They got people running the half marathon. So the 5Kers go first. Because to do the half marathon, you had to run the 5K, and then you had to run a 10-mile. You were doing 2 different runs. So we're done. We're like, well, shit, now we're going to wait for these other idiots. It's going to be 90 minutes. Well, the people on my team, they had family members that had an apartment 2 blocks away. Great. So all these other idiots were running 10 miles. We're back at the apartment where it's nice and warm, drinking mimosas and eating Cinnabons. And then we went back to watch them finish, which, like I said, it was all really cool. It was really fun. It was a great experience. I enjoyed it. They said, like, they already had the pre-registration for next year, so I'm going to sign up for that tonight. And it's going to be 1 year from today.
Awesome.
I've already been asked to run the Phillies 5K in March, and I've agreed to it. And I likely will run this one in the Phillies outfit, which I had declined last week. Because once I realized that I could do it without stopping, at a good pace, that it wasn't that hard, I'm like, you know what? Okay. Yeah, I can make a better showing now.
Well, now that you got the Phillies manager on your side, who knows? Maybe you could get that first pitch.
Yeah.
You throw out the first pitch.
You know what? You know what? Yeah, you're right. Thank you. You remember that 2 years ago. Remember all that bullshit I went through trying to get that? And they kept shooting me that. And you know what sucks? And I'm going to have to talk to her about it. Michelle Rosado. She worked a lot of work with Russell Pelt. She's a box promoter, Raging Bade Promotions.
Yep.
She was able to get Sonny Condon to throw the first pitch this year. I was at that game. But, see, she made calls on his behalf. When it was me trying to do it, it was me just trying to do it. So they just thought I was some regular schmuck, right? So what I might do, Rich, here's an idea. I should have you call the Phillies. Like, listen, I represent the Tornado.
Yeah.
He's well known to the Philadelphia area. He's very popular. He's this and that. I can get him to, appear at your, thing, and for a nominal fee.
And if you don't hire him, I can sue you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll sue you on his behalf. That's funny. Yeah, it definitely would be cool, though, to chalk that up as an experience. So.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, that's awesome that you met him, though. I wish I could have met some of the Red Sox managers over the years. Yeah, I got to write about him at least when they won the World Series for the local paper. That was a cool experience. But anyway, it was awesome event. I wish I could have been there. Maybe next year. Maybe I'll have enough money saved up. I can make the trip and do the event. That'd be awesome. I get a medal. Why not? Right?
Yeah,
that's cool. Those medals look pretty awesome.
Exactly. I mean, it's a really nice medal. It's heavy. Yeah. Now, the people that ran the 13-1, they got 3 medals. They got the 5K medal, the 10-mile medal, and the 13-1 medal.
Nice. Wow. So I got to aim for the big one to get all the trophies. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
all right, gentlemen.
All right. Guys,
we'll
see you next week. Enjoy the fight.
All right. I'll see you later, gentlemen.
Adios.